Grand Funk Railroad's Mark Farner talks about his near-death experiences and how that led to some thoughts of Ronnie Montrose. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Well, we've heard of all the rockers who have passed on, especially in the last 3 years. And since this channel is primarily for classic rock, almost everyone I talk to have at least 10 years on me. I gotta tell you, I appreciate every single time I get a chance to talk to one of these guys, because you never know how much time you have left. Mark Farner's had a problem with his heart the last few years and says he had a near-death experience. I asked him about that.
I died, and I went into heaven, and it was great. And I didn't want to come back. But when I knew I had to come back, I said, shit, I'm not kidding you, buddy. I was like bummed out. But even knowing, my son, Jesse, who's quadriplegic, I had that responsibility, and my grandchildren and my wife and, my life. I knew all of that, but it was so... on the other side, as soon as you leave the bone suit, you are present with where you originated. I mean, and you know all things, and you even have the understanding of what the purpose of the Earth years was all about. I mean, it was just, after that experience, it solidified my faith. And the miracles that happened when Jesus was on the earth were to confirm the words that he was speaking about forgiveness and about love being unconditional, and it's not about going to some church and giving 10%. That's debt consciousness, and that's Old Testament, and that's all bull crap. Churches, anything that operates under a 501c3 tax exemption has given the authority of their ministry to God over to some cats that own the banks of the Federal Reserve. And you're talking, because of the nature of that agreement that you sign, you cannot be really responsible as the Bible calls you to be responsible to your flock, because now you've got to conform in order to get this tax deduction and offer a tax deductible incentive to those in the flock that you're fleecing. That's what it turns out to be. It's all mammon. But the Lord wants us free. Love wants us free from debt consciousness, any sort of debt. It separates us from the nature of our true strength, which is founded in love. And that's where we go back to. If we get so distant from it each day on earth because we're faced with circumstances that keep us from understanding and knowing who we really are and knowing where the kingdom is. It's inside of us. It's not out beyond the clouds and the stars. It's right here. And it's so close. It's a glimpse away. I mean, it's just a blink away. But that faith has risen in me. And because of that, I understand we're all going, dude. And that's my belief because of what I experienced. And I have to take into consideration that a lot of people have been fed horse crap. And so when they say they're a Christian, I kind of generally know where they're coming from because I had to go through all of it to where I'm at. And now I understand that Jesus is love. God was made flesh and dwelt among us here on the earth. And that love is unconditional. And when Jesus went into the earth for 3 days, he came out with the keys to the keys to the kingdom of hell and of death, but he didn't kick his brother's ass to get the keys. He just showed him the scars, man. Are you kidding me? I did this for you, brother. And then Lucifer standing with the keys. Are you kidding me? That kind of love, overwhelming. He did that for me. Here, take these keys, and that's what love has, the keys. There is no death. I mean, what we experience on this earth, there is a separation from this type of living, earth-year living, but there's the spirit within us has eternal life.
It's always a touchy subject to ask a musician about anything medical, because really on many levels, it's none of our freaking business. But Mark Farner, as you've probably noticed in all his interviews, is very open. I asked about when he almost died and how that led to something very interesting about the late Ronnie Montrose.
Well, my wife was with me, And thank God she was. We were in Detroit at the Renaissance Center and at the hotel there, and woke up in the morning, and she was in, doing her morning thing. And when she came out of the bathroom, my arm had shot up in the air, and my body was starting to go into convulsive actions and things. So she gets on the phone, and they get the paramedics up there, got me on oxygen, and then they put me in an ambulance to take me over to the hospital. And that morning, I didn't realize that I had this bundle branch block, which restricts the nerve from getting to the branch of nerves that cause the constricting in the heart to squeeze the blood, from the lower ventricle up. And that is what failed on me, my electrical. My plumbing is good, but my electrical failed. And when they got me on the gurney in the emergency room, and I'm laying there on an external pacemaker, and they had hit me with so much juice that it almost knocked me out. It hurt so bad. And I hollered out, and my wife came in from the other room. She come running in, and, "What's the matter, honey?" I said, "They hit me with so much juice." And just as I'm saying it, they do it again, and I died right there. Man, that was the first time. And, they revived me. There's a guy that came in, another guy who came in and actually revived me. And these other guys, there's 3 doctors on this external pacemaker that never turned their head around. And I was hollering to the top of my lungs, and they were no more than 8 feet away from me. And my wife was hollering, and so bad that the guy that came in from the other room, he said, "We got to get him to OR immediately, because we got him back twice, and there's no guarantee we'll get him a third time." So she agreed to, send me down. But that was happening back and forth from the state of being in heaven and then back in the body. I'm not kidding you. Something else that happened on my re-entry back into the bone suit. I don't know if I got fit in the same way I left it. It might be just a little bit out of, I got to stretch into something. I never played slide guitar prior to leaving. I never tried it. I mean, a friend of mine tried to show me one time. I said, "Nah, man, I don't like, tuning it to a chord and playing that. I can't go there in my mind. I'm too used to the regular tuning." So I can play slide now. I put it on my pinky and I play in regular standard tuning, and it works. I might have brought somebody else back with me. I might have brought some Montrose with me. I had just played with Pat Travers and Ronnie Montrose and myself. We did some, they called it Guitar God gigs together. And so this was just prior to Montrose passing. And I got to hang with him, and I got to know his spirit, and it was a loving, kind-hearted man. I got to know that guy and admired that he and Pat Travers both were playing slide. I'd never tried it at that point, but I admired people that could play it, and now I can. So,
what was your take on Montrose, Mark? What was your take on Ronnie Montrose? You had a chance to spend some time with him.
Well, he was a very appreciative, genuine individual. And when you have somebody who's appreciative to the degree Ronnie was, there's none of the ego crap that comes along. And his humble, he was always welcomed into a room, but he wasn't like brought in with cheers and everything. He was just admired. And I understand after being around him what people admired about this boy.
We'll have more of our conversation with both Don Brewer and Mark Farner of Grand Funk fame. We've got 2 more segments left. It's a 12-part series on Grand Funk Railroad. I feel very privileged that I had a chance to talk to both Don and Mark. Also, remember, we have a merchandise store. When you buy a t-shirt, a mug, or a sweatshirt, it helps us expand, and we really want to expand a lot in the next 6 months. Also, if you want to volunteer for Rock History Music, either you want to be a writer or a researcher, or you want to be a guest on the show, contact us via the comments or email us through YouTube. Make sure you comment on our videos. We read all the comments. Subscribe to our channel. We really need that. And of course, share away, please. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It's important to us. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music.